Hi everyone, welcome back to Feather Stitch House. My name's Rebecca and each week on this channel I upload videos about embroidery and textile art to help you get creative. Now in my Wednesday videos I do a range of different things. Sometimes I show you some of our kits that we sell in our online shop. We're doing a patchwork adventures series where I'm looking at patchwork techniques from all around the world. We're doing a stitched alphabet where I look at stitches beginning with a letter of the alphabet, and we're putting together a slow stitch book as a record of all of those. And then sometimes I'll show you a project that I'm working on. Today I thought it would be nice to do just some simple slow stitch. If you've been around for a while, you'll know that 2024 got off to a really difficult start for me and my family. And I'd love to tell you that things have improved, but 2024 does seem to be a bit of a year for us. We've had all manner of really random and really upsetting things happen since January the 1st. And I won't bore you with all the details because I do like to keep it quite light. But I found myself often this year turning to sewing as a way of relieving stress. And I know that we all have lots and lots of things going on in our lives. Life has lots of moving parts and things can go wrong really easily. They can go right as well, but when we have times of difficulty and times of struggle, it's really good to have some strategies in place to cope with those things in sort of productive and positive and healthy ways. So for me, it's stitching. For you, it might be something very different, but I wanted to share with you some of the ways that I set up a session of stitching that is purely for stress relief. So today I'm going to give you my tips for relieving stress while sewing, how I set up a sewing session so that I have the best chance of calming myself down and feeling better at the end of it. And then I'm going to create a piece of slow stitch. I'm not going to talk very much. I'll show you my setup and I'll chip in every now and again and tell you what I'm doing and some of the decisions I'm making. But I'm just going to stitch it. I'll speed up some of the footage and play some music over the top. And hopefully it will give you some inspiration to carve out some time for yourself, create something lovely and maybe a little bit random, and just allow the action of stitching to slow your breathing, to slow your heart rate, to lower your blood pressure a little bit, and to give yourself a bit of mindful activity where the rest of the world can fade away and you can just focus on your well-being. So I hope that sounds like something you're up for. I'm going to go into my studio, gather some things together, and let's get stitching.
Right, I've got a piece of backing fabric here. This is a bit of my old sheet that I've been using for this year's Winging It project, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. I can't believe how many things I've been able to make out of it so far. Just to give you an idea of size, this is about 4 inches by 5 inches. If you want that in centimetres, it's 10 by 13. I've added a very uneven border just to give me a little bit of scope to stitch it, and this is all about stress relieving slow stitch. And I don't know about you, but one of the things I find most difficult and most stressful is picking a colour scheme and the fabrics. And so I thought, as our first stress relieving technique, we're going to leave it to fate. So I've got a little pack of fabric here. These are just 10 centimetre, I think, squares that came in a pack. I think I got them as a gift. Um, they're not particularly high quality fabrics, but they're handy for slow stitch projects. And what I'm going to do is just put these in a bag, and I'm going to reach in and grab some. They do tend to, they kind of coordinate with each other. They're all in sort of muted tones. So I'm going to let fate decide, and then I'll build my colour scheme around whatever I pick out. So I'm just going to grab a bag and get ready to do that. Okay, that was easier said than done. I've got about 3 million bags and I couldn't find any of them. So I've just got this little silk. The difficulty I've got is that it needs to be opaque so that I can't cheat. So I'm going to put those in and give it a bit of a shake around just to mix them up, separate them out a little bit, and then I'm just going to reach in. Try not to look, it's a little bit see-through, can you see? Ugh. So I'm just going to reach in. I'm looking away, I promise, you'll have to trust me. I'm honest as the day is long. Right, browns. Okay, so there's one. Let's just move it out of the way so the contrast doesn't get messed up. Let's pick, should we pick 3? I was hoping for something a bit brighter, but they're all, oh dear. Everyone knows, if you've been watching for a while, you know what I think about that little option. And a floral. Okay, well, I'm not going to cheat. That's what we're going to go with. So I've got they actually don't look too bad together. It's going to be fairly muted. So even though this is pink, it reminds me of, it's got a feel of Neapolitan ice cream about it. So you've got a strawberry, a chocolate, and a floral. I suppose you've got chocolate and vanilla there, but I think that one blends in quite well. It's got these earthy greens that feature in this one, and the pink carries across as well. There's pink flowers in this, so I think it'll work. Okay, I'm going to gather some threads that match and maybe a few buttons and trims, and then we'll get started. So I haven't had to think at all about this. Now I've got my colour scheme, I'm just going to grab some things that match. Right, here we go. I've managed to dig out quite a lot of stuff. I thought I would get some scraps of a neutral because all 3 of these are patterned, and I thought it might be nice to have some breaks for the eye. So this is just out of my scraps bin. I've grabbed some neutral undyed natural linen. You can see that they're very crumpled scraps. We're going for stress relief here, so I am set up really nicely just out of shot. So I've lit myself a nice smelly candle. It's kind of a piney, it's kind of Christmassy smell, but it's my kind of aroma. So I've got that going, and I've made myself a herbal tea. This is a bird and blend tea, and it's strawberry lemonade. I haven't tried it before, but it smells fabulous. So I've got myself a nice herbal tea. I've also got my phone handy, and I've got Audible set up, and I'm currently listening to The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. Highly recommend. So I've got that to be listening to as I'm filming. Oh, hello, you can see me in the in the reflection. So I've got that to listen to. So second strategy for stress relief is to set yourself up, get everything out so you don't have to be digging around, you don't have to stop working, or stop playing, I should say, to find things that you need. I've got a bunch of needles ready in the end of my ironing mat. I've got my iron plugged in and ready to go. I've got some pins nearby as well. So I've got everything nearby that I might need. And I've set myself up so that I can just relax. So I've got my audiobook ready, I'm filling the room with lovely aromas, and I've got a steaming cup of tea that is going to keep me settled. Now you might want to put on a box set, or you might want to just have the radio on or listen to some music, but just do whatever makes you relax, whatever makes you happy. Third stress relieving strategy is to think ahead about stitches. I don't want to use any stitches that have a tendency to go wrong. So I'm going to rule out things like French knots and bullion knots today. I just want to keep it really simple. So I think I'm going to stick with running stitch and straight stitch, cross stitch, things like that, that are going to be low stress, low drama. I don't have to look anything up or remember how to do anything. I'm just going to keep it really, really simple. I'm not going to use Bondaweb. I'm not going to use any fancy techniques. I'm just going to lay fabric on and stitch it, because this is not about creating a work of art. This is all about just the process of stitching. So no fancy techniques today. We're just going to create a piece, and I'm going to determine not to unpick anything. So this is not going to be about precision and perfection. This is just going to be about the action of stitching, that slow repetitive action that is going to calm me down, slow my heart rate, and give me a moment of peace. So you can rip the fabric or you can cut it, whichever makes you happiest. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to do minimal talking through this, and I might put some music on in the background and just stitch. So if you want to gather some bits and pieces and stitch along with me, that would be lovely. But we're going to have a lovely stress relieving time with our slow stitch project. So I hope you're going to join in with me. Right, let's get going. So I started off by letting the fabric just inform me, and I got my iron out. I was going to press that linen, and then I thought, let's just go with it and use the ripples. So I just made some little snips in the edges of the other fabrics and tore strips and just arranged them, let them sit on the fabric, and I try not to think too much about this. Then I just pinned a few places just to hold those pieces down. And I realised that I'd forgotten to bring through some tacking thread, so I just used a single strand of embroidery thread rather than interrupt myself, and just tacked all those pieces down. Then I wanted to add some texture, so I got some lace and just auditioned it in different places around the piece until I was happy, pinned those down and again tacked them in place. kept reminding myself to take sips of my tea as I was going. Once everything was tacked down, I started with the darkest thread. Remembered that I'd forgotten to start my audiobook, so I got that going, and I just stitched some lines of running stitch, and all the time I was trying to not smooth out the fabric and instead just capture the ripples. I thought it was quite symbolic. I was just going with the flow of the fabric and just dealing with what came, because I think that is a bit of a reflection on how we handle life, really. And I got some of the variegated thread that I pulled out and added some cross stitches onto that linen. Thought I wanted to bring in some different colours, so I got some of the mint green stranded cotton and put some lines of running stitch going in the other direction, so this was cutting across the piece. And with all of the stitching I did, I tended to just take a length and stitch until I'd run out. So you might be able to see on the brown running stitch there, one of the lines stops halfway down because I ran out of thread, and I just left it. I thought it needed a bit of contrast, so I got some coral thread. I'd picked out a colour from the floral fabric and added some more cross stitches. I wasn't really thinking about keeping them in straight lines or keeping them even, they just came out how they came out. Now I've got some more mint green, slightly different shade in a thicker thread, and I'm adding some more vertical lines of running stitch. I've got a stronger pink. This is a sheepy's thread called Old Rosa. It's a nice dusky pink, and I'm adding some much bigger crosses in the cross stitch sections. thought it needed some surface embellishment, and I'd got these little pre-cut flower shapes, so I added a couple of those, and again just using straight stitch, added some colour to them, just stitching over, letting the shape of the flower guide what I was doing. And so I put some pink on all of them, then I put some mint green on all of them. And I thought the brown flower needed a bit more, so I got some white thread and just added some more stitch. I wanted to use some of the buttons that I'd selected, and I quite like the flower buttons. I've tested out a few in different places. I didn't use that wooden button in the end, and I kind of wish I had, but I was just going with it. These are all shank buttons, and so they add a little bit of movement as well. I put 3 in the bottom corner to echo the 3 flowers at the top. I thought there was a bit of a void across the diagonal and thought I could add some beads, so I just pulled out a selection of beads in the colours from the fabrics. So there's some different shades of pink, some brown, some mint green, a couple of blue. There was a blue in the floral. And again, I didn't think too much about this. I just stitched them on, picked them up fairly randomly, put a single stitch through, and maybe every 10 beads I tied a knot on the back and just created a sweep of beads across the surface. Okay, so here's my finished bit of slow stitch. I've had a really lovely couple of hours. It's taken about 2 hours in total, and I really haven't thought about anything other than stitching and the story I've been listening to. Could have put lots more stitch on, but I am really happy with the way it's turned out, and considering these are not colours I would ever use, it is really pleasing to me. So I put the little fabric flowers on and put a little cluster of beads down here, and I felt like there was a space in the centre that needed something, so I just pulled out a bunch of beads and popped them on. And all I've put on here are straight stitches and cross stitches, so I did some running stitch sections and straight stitch on the flowers, and then I just put some pink cross stitches just so those spaces were balanced. I love these ripples, it's very textural. If I can move it to the side, hopefully you can see. So bit of slow stitch for stress relief. I hope that has given you a bit of inspiration and some ways that you can just pull together some bits and pieces and create something with no pressure, no plan, and just enjoy the process of putting a needle through fabric and creating something calming and wonderful. Do let me know in the comments what you are listening to or watching while you stitch, and I hope that you have a lovely time creating a piece of slow stitch. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great week, and I will see you very soon for the next video. Bye.